and welcome back. This is Venom, this is We Have London Entertainment, and we are here with a Cyberpunk 2077 tips and tricks video. Cyberpunk 2077, of course, has had two major updates here recently. The first was the release of Cyberpunk 2.0, which overhauled a lot of the game's systems, and the second was the release of their expansion, which was Phantom Liberty. So today is going to be going over tips and tricks involving 2.0 and Phantom Liberty. Now, first and foremost, the first tip is going to be start a new character. If you're still using an old save file from the original game, you can still technically play with it, even if you've beaten the game. I would highly recommend starting a new character. When you start a new character, you have two choices. You can either jump right into Phantom Liberty. It'll actually put you right after you contact the Voodoo Boys and do their mission. Or you can start from the very beginning. If you haven't played in a while, I would start from the very beginning. For two reasons. One, you can actually miss some of the iconic weapons you get at the beginning of the game. But two, and more importantly, you really want to know what your character can do and you want to build it yourself. On top of that, you really want to get back into the mindset of Cyberpunk 2077. You do kind of have to be in a mindset to play the game, you kind of want to know what's going on, and you don't really want to just kind of start blindly. So for those two reasons, I highly recommend you starting a new character from the beginning. It does take quite a few hours to actually get to the Phantom Liberty expansion. For those of you who play the game, the base game, you know this. However, it is definitely worth it. Tip number 2. Again, for you veterans, this is going to be something new for you. You're going to have some bad habits, so you're going to have to get rid of some of those. But tip number 2 is sell all your blue and under gear. In fact, if it's blue, green, or white, sell it. Do not bother breaking it down. In the game, there are 5 tiers of gear. There are, in order from lowest to highest, white, green, blue, purple, and of course orange, which is like the legendary gear. You can break down all the gear and get crafting components. You get more than one, by the way. You don't just get one, you'll get up to 5 to 7 of them. You want to break down the tier 5 and 4 gear so you can upgrade stuff later, but the tier 3 and under, go ahead and sell. The gear, especially the weapons, sells for a lot more than it did before 2.0 did. If you're doing a lot of like the NCPD hustles and stuff, you will get pretty rich pretty quickly selling this stuff. You will come across crafting components pretty quickly as well, and you really don't want to waste your time leveling up an item from tier 1 to tier 5, which you can do now. It is much better to just wait to level up when higher level gear and higher tier gear will be available to you, and improve the gear that's already at a higher level. Speaking of which, a little bonus tip for you vets, it is much easier to improve iconic weapons. You do not have to worry about picking up an iconic weapon too early in the game to make it useful later on. Now the weapons are just flat out tiers 1 through 5, and it goes up to 5++. So don't feel afraid to pick up any iconic weapons. You can go ahead and level those up and improve those as you go. It does not cost you exponentially more crafting components to do so. Next up, tip 3, and again this is going to be new for you veterans, but for you new players it's good to know too. Your med kits and your grenades are reusable. Now, I know in the base game and the original Cyberpunk 2077, the medkits and grenades were one-use items. Now they recharge. So do not be afraid to use your medpacks or your grenades. They're going to recharge. There's no reason to not use them when you need them. Tip 4, and this is a returning tip from the base game of Cyberpunk 2077. One of the easiest ways you can level up is doing the NCPD side hustles. I actually leveled up quite a bit in between my streams without doing the main quest by doing the NCPD side hustles. Not only do you get a lot of experience for doing the actual mission itself, you get a lot for taking out the enemies, and you get paid for it, and you get to sell all the stuff you pull off the enemies. So if you want to just go ahead and level up or get a bunch of items, even just grind out some money, do those NCPD side hustles. There are a lot of them. Tip 5, this is for you net runners out there. Make sure in the early game you're hitting up those access points, and make sure you're hitting up the second and the third data streams in those access points. Those are what are going to give you your quick hack crafting components. They're going to oftentimes actually give you quick hack schematics. Sorry, I can't talk today. And on top of that, you can also get money. So make sure if you're doing that, make sure you prioritize 2 and 3, especially 3. Or if you can get all 3 streams done, go ahead and get all 3 streams done. But make sure you do these because it's going to be your main way of getting quick hack and quick hack components. Tip number 6, and this is going to also be very different. So for you veterans, you're going to have to get used to this system. For you newbies, this is going to be a little bit easier for you to keep in mind. Most of your armor is not going to be coming from your clothing items anymore. It's going to actually be coming from your cyberware. You are going to have to engage with the cyberware system whether you really want to or not if you want to get any armor. The cyberware is going to give you all of your armor for the most part, and your clothing items are going to be mainly cosmetic. Now, there are going to be a few exceptions, and that's actually going to bring me to tip number 7. Tip number 7 is your head, face, inner torso, and outer torso. Those items can actually have stat bonuses. So those are the few clothing items in the game that can have stat bonuses. Now, they are typically pretty small. They're not going to be very good compared to what you get from cyberware, but hey, every bit helps. So keep that in mind. Make sure if you pick up any clothing for any of those slots, again, head, face, inner torso, or outer torso, check and see if you have anything with a stat bonus. Now, don't worry about how you look, because you can still use the outfits in game that will supersede what you are wearing, but keep in mind, keep your eyes out or peeled for those clothing items. Tip number 8 is going to be specific to Phantom Liberty. This is going to be a bit spoilery. I'll try not to say too much about it. However, if you're looking for iconic items, whether it be iconic weapons or the iconic cyberware, and yes, there is iconic cyberware in the game now, you're going to find those in the vendor in the arena. I'm not going to say much more than that, except check out the vendors in the arena. I'm showing them on screen. I'm not going to open them up though, so I don't want to spoil anything. But that's where you're going to find some iconic stuff. You'll find stuff that's in the game in other vendors, stuff you may have missed, and stuff that's only available in these vendors. So check those out. 9, and this is going to be for you cyber runners out there, you net runners. The net runners have a very, very broken item called the COX2 Cyber Somatic Optimizer. This is a legendary piece of cyberware you can get for your head later on in the game that will give you a 100% crit chance for your quick hacks. So keep that in mind when you're in the late game. If you're having trouble or just want to boost up your net running skills, period, this is a piece of gear that is going to help you as a net runner no matter what it is, because it gives you 100% crit chance. You can see me critting enemies for tons of damage in the background. No matter what you're running as a net runner, if you want to crit everything all the time, like, you want this piece of cyberware. Again, 100% crit chance. You rarely find something like that in most games. This is a guaranteed critical hit. You don't got to worry about speccing into any other stats for critical hit for quick hacks or putting on any other gear to do so. This will handle it for you in one go. And finally, my 10th and my final tips and tricks for Cyberpunk 2.0. That is, if you are on a police chase and you are trying to get rid of your stars, there's not a paint spray like there is in, say, Grand Theft Auto. It is very hard to lose your stars unless you walk into a shop or a safe area. That's right. The way to get rid of your stars the quickest is to just walk into a shop. That will get rid of your stars immediately. You can see me in the background. I've got the maximum amount of stars right now. The police are after me. I walk into a store and they immediately stop. In fact, you can see me duck back out of the shop, immediately attack the cops again, duck back in, they just look at me and keep walking away. So you can cause as much havoc as you want to. Just duck into a shop and you are good to go. And now a little bit of a bonus tip. This one's going to be a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, go ahead and thank you all for coming by. Subscribe if you haven't already and you like what we're doing. Like if you like the video, but for those that don't mind a slight spoiler, go ahead and stick around for this bonus tip. And here we go. Bonus tip is number 11. When you are in Dogtown, look around in the sky and look for orangish, reddish smoke. If you see that, that is a drop from space. Oftentimes you'll actually hear it come down too. You'll hear it land. Go to those, take out the enemies around, hack it. It will have a ton of awesome items in there, including carry capacity shards. That's right. Included with Cyberpunk 2.0 and Phantom Liberty, you will find carry capacity shards as well as cyberware capacity shards. So you will find a ton of good items in these caches. Go ahead and look out for those, because there are no NCPD hustles in Dogtown. You're going to find these instead. Look out for them, get them every time you see them, and you will be guaranteed to get something good. So that's going to do it for us tonight, guys. Again, thank you for coming by. Please subscribe if you like what we're doing. Hit like down there on the like button if you liked the video, if you learned something new. If you've got some tips that we didn't show today or you want to see some additional tips, please let me know down in the comments. Let us know what your tips are. And past that, we will see you guys later doing the live streams.